Hey, welcome to my Warframes Where They Are Now series, a little series I've had brewing in the back of my mind since the early days of Warframe, quote unquote. I'm going to put this little intro at the beginning of every video in this series. If you've heard this once or more, feel free to skip it. This is just my opinion and is not guaranteed to be fact. Remember, with Warframe, everyone plays at least a little different from each other. That's why there's 52 frames as of making this intro, of course. That being said, I do plan on being as objective as I can with this series. But bias will always be a potential problem, and will definitely shine through in certain episodes, if not all. Now, that being said, I hope you enjoy the series.
August 20th, 2023. Again, sorry about the beeping outside. Neighbors are still renovating, you know how it goes. But, anyways, today we're talking about the old gunslinger, Mesa. Alright, base stats on a level 30 Mesa Prime are 125 armor, 188 energy, that's a weird number for that, 405 health, and 225 shields, and 1.1 sprint speed. Passive is shoot dual-wielded sidearms 15% faster and reload single-handed sidearms 25% more rapidly. Gain 50 bonus health when not using melee weapons. I will say, I didn't realize that she had a bonus for the dual-wielding sidearms because I always went with a single sidearm for the longest time. However, my new favorite secondary is the dual tox assist because of the incarnate adapter, so that's good to know. I'll probably be using her more often, that being said. Mesa's first ability is Ballistic Battery. When activated, it stores power, and when it's triggered again, damage is channeled through the next gunshot. I have removed this from every single one of my builds because, frankly, I don't care for it, and with how powerful weapons are nowadays, it seems to be kind of pointless. I could see a use case for like Archons or Eidolons, but there's already ways to one-shot Archons, and Eidolons definitely have more efficient ways to be run. I don't really see the appeal of it. Anyways, as for the augment, Ballistic Bullseye, the shot gains a final 50% critical chance bonus based on the amount charged. Okay, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there are people that run it. I don't really see the appeal in it myself, but hey, if you run it, there's nothing wrong with that. Your second ability, Shooting Gallery, gives a damage buff to your allies, and also jams the guns of nearby enemies. Shifts between team members, which is kind of weird, but it works out pretty well. I will say it's awesome when you're solo because it just doesn't fucking go anywhere, so it works really damn well when you're by yourself, which I do primarily. As for the augment, forgot the word for augment for a minute there, Muzzle Flash. After 6 kill assists by a player with Shooting Gallery, Mesa's next shot will blind enemies within 12 meters for 6 seconds. That's not a bad idea. I still wouldn't bother with it, mainly because of how I build Mesa, but I could see a use case where you'd want to use that. Her third ability is Shatter Shield. Envelops her in a barrier that reflects back incoming bullet damage. It has 80% DR at base. Let me check something real quick. You can get it to 95% DR at max level, which is no slouch whatsoever. It has a pretty solid duration for what it is. The only thing I'm not a big fan of with it is the fact that it's just, you know, after a certain amount of levels, you still get hit pretty hard. But still, it's pretty good at keeping your ass alive. But as for the augment, Staggering Shield. Reflected bullets have a chance to stagger enemies. The base 50% chance increases with power strength. I love that they actually put that in the mod. Thank you for that. I love it when it tells you it does stuff like that. But anyways, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. I don't really have a good way to squeeze it on my build, but if I did, I absolutely would, because I use Shadow Shield all the freaking time to keep my ass alive. Alright, as for her fourth ability, the one that you've probably heard of if you've ever played Warframe whatsoever, Peacemaker. She whips out 2 pistols and goes completely nuts with them. Granted, she has a pretty limited range compared to what she'll auto-target on. It rips through your energy pretty quick, but unless you're doing Steel Path, you won't even really notice it because you're going to have them activated for like half a second once you get pretty good with them. You can also buff the crap out of the pistols themselves to make them pretty goddamn powerful. As for the augment, Mesa's Waltz, it allows you to move at 50% speed while using Peacemaker. I honestly wouldn't bother with it because you can kind of just sling yourself before you activate it, and it actually carries you a pretty good distance. Yes, it would be nice to be able to just move period point blank, but I honestly think being forced to stand still is a pretty fair way to balance it out a little bit. This mod right here is an excellent example of why I say we should have an augment slot. Because it is a mod that I would love to have, just as a, an extra slot there, but there's no snowball's chance in hell I'd ever bother trying to squeeze it into a, normal build. At least now that Steel Path is a thing. Before Steel Path, absolutely I would have had it on there. As for my build, I have Strength and Duration build, surprising no one. I also have Pistol Amp, because, well, pistol damage is kind of important with this particular frame. Who would have guessed? But yeah, no, that's pretty much what I would do there. I will say with Archon Shards, once I do eventually do hers, because I haven't yet, I plan to put a couple into armor, maybe 3, I haven't really decided how many of those yet. And honestly, I think the rest will go into duration. Just to increase the amount of time I have in Peacemakers when it comes to Steel Path, and particularly Granum's Void when I'm helping somebody else get their, Sister of Parvos. So how does this frame fare for Deviri? Well, as to be expected with regular Deviri, she's kind of fucking broken. Who would have guessed? But when it comes to Steel Path Deviri, she is pretty damn good. She's definitely not, like, the best thing to get, at least in my opinion. I know some people would probably disagree with me there, but she's pretty good to get. With her being able to rip through most Steel Path enemies pretty good ways into the game, she is pretty damn strong. I'd rather get a Saren or a Limbo or something, but she's pretty damn good to get. Granted, to be honest, the only reason I'd rather get Saren is because of all the status decrees that are there. Those make her ridiculously nasty. Mesa is a frame that I would argue is still part of the meta after all these years. Don't get me wrong, I'm noticing less and less Mesa players myself, and I myself am not one, but if I have to acknowledge that she is ridiculously powerful for what she is. Yes, she is very much so a 4 frame and that's about it, but she's pretty damn good. The thing that separates her from a lot of one-button frames is her other abilities do have some use, aside from her first ability, at least in my eyes. The other 2 abilities seem to serve to keep her alive, and that is kind of important when you're made out of glass and have a ridiculously powerful weapon. Either way, that's it, and that's all. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.